Myself, Professor Tulika Chatterjee, from Pratibha College of Commerce and Computer Studies, organizes a certificate course in nutrition and dietetics. So today I am going to take a virtual tour on this course. Before I do that, let me share my screen with you. So in this course in nutrition and dietetics, the objective of this course is that after the student will be doing this course, and at the end of the course, the student will understand the importance of healthy living and healthy eating. Also, they will gain a knowledge about basics of meal planning. They will understand the importance of balanced diet and what are the different aspects of diet, and also a detailed insight about the role of dietitian. To start with, I have some content for this course. So the first few things we are going to take, they are introduction to nutrition and dietetics. The next we are going to follow about our food and our body. The role of the nutrients, of course, we are going to see about menu planning and meal preparation. During normal life cycle, what is a balanced diet and what other nutrition are required, and what is a therapeutic diet and effective nutritional counseling. So before we start in the dietetics part, first of all, we should know about the nutrition. What is nutrition and the dietetics? So basically nutrition, it is a science and it is related with the eating habits of the body. So there are two things which we can say, it's a good nutrition or a bad nutrition. Or good nutrition or bad nutrition means a food cannot be good or bad. It gives something or the other nutrients to you. Okay, so basically nutrition is a science, and nutrients are the chemical components from which those which we get it from the food. Like for example, if we are talking about carbohydrate, fat, protein, so they are the nutrients, and carbohydrate gives us energy, protein builds our muscles, builds our tissues, fats also gives us energy. So these are all the different types of the nutrition, which nutrients carbohydrate, nutrient fat, nutrient protein, nutrient vitamin and minerals gives to us. Okay, malnutrition is also a state of a body where one or more nutrient, if it is lacking or if you are having it too much, is always a malnutrition. That means we cannot say if we are having less food, then our body is going to have malnourished. No, it is a prolonged procedure. I mean, for a very long time, if you are taking this, then yes, the body can go. So lack of nutrients, or if you are taking too much of the nutrient, that can be considered as malnutrition. So before we jump into the any nutrition content, we should know what is a good health is all about. Now, good health, everybody knows that we should avoid junk food. We should maintain a routine. We should always eat as much as natural or organic food is concerned. We should always, consider seasonal food to add into our daily diet. We should not overeat. We should eat, but we should not overeat. Okay, so these are all the different types of the guidelines which is mentioned for our good health. Now this is a nutrition wheel, as everybody is able to see that. Now in this nutrition wheel, you can see that it has been divided into 1, 2, 3 and 4 parts. So what are all these things? Now the first part is divided into all the cereals and grains and millets. Second part is all the vegetables and fruits and different types of the vegetables is included. In the third part, there are milk and milk product, and fourth is the cheese, paneer. That means milk and milk product as well as with the fat content. So your diet should be in various types of the diet. It should be more than 35 to 40%. It should be green. That means that we should have carbohydrate in our diet. The next is the vitamin and minerals from we get it from vegetables and fruits, and then the protein part and the small part, you can see it is in purple, and it is a small part which is we should take very sparingly, like butter, ghee, and any sort of visible fat, for example, like white butter, okay, margarine. So all these things should be avoided, or if it is not possible to avoid, but we can take it very sparingly or in a very small amount. Next is the food guide pyramid. Now, before we go or we see that we wanted to do a proper meal planning, or we should have a proper guideline for a meal planning, for that you should always know what are the various food guides are there, what are the different types of the food groups are there. Okay, so this is the guide which is going to help you to plan a menu for anybody. Like if you have a person who is old, who is very elderly, and who is suffering from a disease, then what type of the food guide, food exchange list you should have to prescribe that particular man. So for this, it is very helpful for 6 to 11 servings of bread, cereals, and pasta. We should have 3 to 4 servings of vegetables, 2 to 4 servings of fruits. Now you will understand what. Now you might be having a question in your mind that what are the servings? Servings means how many times I am having that particular thing. Now for example, here it is written bread, cereal, and pasta. It is not only required to take bread, cereal, or pasta. It can be any form. It can be rice, it can be wheat, it can be a bhakri of made up of jowar or bajra, something like that. So 6 to 11 should be in between. You can have either 6 or 8 or 9 or 10. Maximum should be 11, not more than that. So in that way, 3 to 4 servings of vegetables, 2 to 4 servings of fruits, 2 to 3 servings of milk, yogurt, and cheese, 2 to 3 servings of meat, poultry, fish, beans, eggs, and nuts. Okay, and you will see that the tip of the pyramid is always being taken by the fats and oils. Okay, so I told you right now that tip of the pyramid, that means you have to take it in a very less amount. So it all the different types of the bakery, all the different types of the biscuit, so that should be taken in a very less amount. I am not saying that you have to totally omit it from the list, but you have to take it. We all know that having a teaspoon of ghee every day is makes our joint very smooth, makes our skin healthy, makes other body parts also very healthy. Okay, so as you see that the base of this pyramid is the main thing, and it is nothing but consisting of the carbohydrate. The next is vegetable and fruits and vegetables. It gives us more vitamins and minerals. Then milk and milk products. Again, milk and milk products, if we consider protein, it gives us good protein. People who are vegetarian, they have to consider this particular level of the pyramid as very important. And meat, fish, and other alternatives, that means people who are having non-vegetarian, who are having non-veg, they can also consider this as a very, because meat, fish, or egg, they are considered as a complete protein, whereas milk is the only one which is a complete protein. But butter or ghee we cannot consider as a complete protein. Yeah, it is a part of it gives us fat rather than protein. Okay, now what are the scope of a dietetics? What is a dietetics? Basically, dietetics is related with the therapeutic nutrition. That means application of the principles of nutrition to diet in relation to the health. That means, what is a therapeutic nutrition? Now, therapeutic nutrition means something which is used as a therapy, the nutrition which is used as a therapy. So a dietitian, you can say, is a person who is qualified in the field of nutrition and dietetics from any recognized university, and he or she should have a very good technical knowledge in the field of the nutrition, and also about and also a particular additional knowledge and performance competencies in many other areas, like for example, counseling and behavioral management, then nutritional diagnosis and implementation of nutrition care process. Then they can also have a very good managing staff quality. They should have an interdisciplinary team and negotiation, and their communication skills should be very much on a higher level. Now, the next thing we should see is food and our body. Now, what is a food? Basically, something which is edible is known as food, isn't it? And the food of a composition of a food is basically studied by two things. One is biological assay, and another one is the chemical analysis. Now, chemical analysis means we approximately come to know about the content of the carbohydrate, protein, fat, minerals, vitamins, or water in any given food, whatever the food it may be. For example, take a piece of a roti, and if we are doing chemical analysis of that, then out of that roti, how much is the carbohydrate content, protein content, fat content, vitamin, mineral content, or water content, we can see through chemical analysis. There are various instruments which are used to do the chemical analysis are muffle furnace, chemical balance, Geldal apparatus, etc. So using these things, it has to be done in a lab. Using these things, we can do the chemical analysis of our food. Next is a bioassay. Now, what is basically a bioassay? Bioassay is a very laborious and a time consuming and expensive too. Okay, now in this bioassay, the first thing, laboratory animals are being kept, and then they are fed on a diet lacking in it. For example, you can feed a albino rat on a vitamin A lacking diet, and you have to see that how the differences are coming day by day. That means these are the symptoms which happen in a vitamin A deficiency. So these are the things which has been done by a bioassay method. Next is recommended dietary allowances, which is also known as RDA. This is a chart which is been given by ICMR, that is Indian Council of Medical Research. And through this chart, you can see that from male and female, pregnancy female or a lactating female, from 1 to 6 months or 2 to 6 months, all the different types of the stages, they had the different type of the requirement. That means it is recommended. For example, a male who is let's say a male who is 23 years old, he is 72 kg and his height is 177 centimeter and 70 inch. His energy he would be requiring is 2900. That means in a day his total kilocalorie requirement is 2900, and he should have a protein of 58 gram. Basically, the weight of your body is 1 gram per weight of a body you should take. But then if somebody is overweight or somebody is underweight, so that's why all this recommended dietary allowances is given. Now, recommended dietary allowances helps us to take the amount of food or the amount of vitamin or minerals which we should take daily. It has been given by the ICMR, and we should follow that particular chart. But sometimes it doesn't happen because always we don't weigh the things and we don't measure the things to have those foods. So for that particular purpose, we should know the 5 basic food groups. If we know the 5 basic food groups, then it will be very easy for us to include those type of the food to get that result which is been mentioned by ICMR. Now, if you see, it is also known as my plate concept. Or what is this my plate concept? In this my plate concept, in your plate, there should be vegetable group, there should be grain group, there should be a protein group. That means this fruits and vegetables group. That means in our entire plate, all these different types of the things should be there. Carbohydrate in the form of grains, protein in the form of any non-vegetarian or dal or pulses, any sabzi or 2 sabzi in the form of vegetables and 1 fruit, or you can have anything instead of fruit. You can have a fruit salad or a fruit custard in the fruit group. And along with that, if you are having a curd or a buttermilk, then also it is a dairy group. So in this way, if you are planning your my plate, then all the 5 basic food groups can be included. Next is the role of the nutrients. In that, the first nutrient is carbohydrate. Basically, carbohydrate gives us energy. Whatever we are doing, the day-to-day work, it is because of the carbohydrate. So carbohydrate in the diet is very important. 1 gram of carbohydrate gives us 4 kilocalorie. That means if we are eating 1 teaspoon of if we are taking 1 teaspoon of rice, then 1 teaspoon of rice, that means approximately 5 grams. That means they are giving us 20 kilocalorie. So yes, it is the most economical and the quickest source of calorie which is available, right? So they spare even the carbohydrate is the only one which gives us energy. Now if our body is lacking carbohydrate, then protein takes its place, and the main important function of a protein is to build muscles. And if we are not giving protein that particular work, then what he will do, he will give us energy and he cannot build our muscle. So in that way, the carbohydrates spare protein to do its function. The main sources of carbohydrates are rice, wheat, corn, barley, bajra, and the diet should not be more than 70% of the daily calorie requirement. That means a carbohydrate should contain at least 70%, not more than that. Next nutrient is protein. Now, protein are the chief constituents of the muscle and organs. The protein can be again divided into two parts. One is the complete protein, another is the incomplete protein. Now, protein basically is a unit which is made up of amino acids. Now, the complete protein, which have all the essential amino acids. Incomplete protein, they contain not all but few of the amino acids. But since there are few amino acids, that's why it is known as incomplete protein. Mostly it is said that the animal sources of protein are the complete protein. You can have meat, egg, fish, poultry, because they are very much superior both in quality as well as quantity. Now quality means what? Whatever you, if you're eating one egg, then also the quality of that egg is the protein of that egg is very good. And quantity means yes, you are getting too much of protein out of that. However, this pulses or any other fruits or vegetables, they do not serve that much of the protein. Pulses, yes, indeed, they are very good source of protein. Their quality might be not as good as compared to the animal protein, but yes, if you are a vegetarian, then pulses and milk products are the only way from where you can have protein. Protein also gives us 1 gram of protein gives us 4 calorie. Fat. Now, fat, as we all know, it is a concentrated storage of energy than carbohydrate, and it is found on the adipose tissue. Basically, 1 gram of fat gives us 9 kilocalorie. Even in all the vitamins, vitamin A, E, D, and K, they are the fat-soluble vitamins. So that means that those vitamins, they carry fat, and they are absorbed in the fat only. Fat in the body gives us lots of have a lots of functions in our body. They create a cushion in outer side of all the major organs. So if we landed with any accident, then our organ does not get directly hurt by the accident, due to the accident. Why? Because it get cushioned by the fat. Sources, as we all know, that all the different types of the butter, ghee, dairy products, even poultry, egg, pork, they are the very much rich sources of the protein, fat. The quantity should be very much less. I mean, if you want to cook in ghee or butter, sometimes it is not at all desirable to cook in ghee and butter, but at least you can have 1 teaspoon of ghee. You can definitely have into the dal, and ghee in if you're putting it into the dal, and it gets absorbed in the body in a very well manner. Next is vitamin. Vitamins is divided into two parts. One is water soluble, another one is fat soluble. Fat soluble are of four types: A, D, E, and K, and water soluble are of two types: vitamin B and vitamin C. Now, if we see fat soluble vitamin A, D, E, and K. A is known as retinol. Basically, all the yellow and different food sources, like for example, tomato, carrot, They are very good sources of broccoli. They are very good sources of vitamin A. Vitamin A, basically, we require it for a very good vision. Okay, vitamin D. Nowadays, you might have heard that many people, they go for vitamin D supplementation. Why? Because we don't stand in the sunlight. You should make a point that at least in the morning and 7 to 8 or 8 to 9, whenever in the morning, you should take some sunlight, because after a particular point of time, if we are not taking vitamin D, even calcium absorption gets hindered in our body. The name of vitamin D is calciferol, and we should take it in the form of sunlight. Or people who eat lots of non-veg and mushrooms, they don't have this deficiency of vitamin D, but it is better to have a little amount of of egg, one egg at least. If you can have it every day or every 2 days or once in a week, it is always highly recommended. Vitamin E is tocopherol, and vitamin E, all the types of green leafy vegetables and pulses, if you see, then vitamin E, we get it. Also, we get it from the egg also. And the vitamin D, vitamin K is very important for the blood clotting function and also for the bone. So if you are very fond of milk, if you are very fond of cabbage, if you are very fond of palak, you can have it, or spinach, you can have it, because vitamin K are very rich, found richly in milk, in cabbage, in spinach also. So vitamin A, D, E, and K are four fat soluble vitamins. Next is water soluble vitamins. Water soluble vitamins are vitamin B1, B2, niacin, B6, pantothenic acid, folic acid, vitamin B12, biotin, and vitamin C. Now, vitamin B1 we can always have in pork, legumes, peanuts, whole grains. And in the deficiency of vitamin B1, we suffer from a disease which is known as beriberi. Vitamin B2, the other name for vitamin B2 is riboflavin. Dairy products, it is found in products, meats, enriched grains, vegetables. And if we are not taking this, our body can have skin lesions such as cracks at the corner of the mouth, which is always known as chillosis. Niacin, we get it from nuts, meats, and grains. And vitamin B6, we again get it in meats, vegetables, and whole grains. And if you are not taking, then you can have anemia, you can have muscular twitching, convulsions may also happen. Pantothenic acid, but the requirement are very less. So if you are having at least one fruit in a day or one green leafy vegetable in the form of sabzi, it is more than enough. Like vitamin C, any fruits we eat, we get vitamin C. Okay, but the seasonal fruit is always very important. We can also get vitamin C in broccoli, in cabbage, in tomatoes, in green peppers also. But the more seasonal fruit you have, for example, sweet lime or oranges. Nowadays we get oranges. So if we eat that, definitely we will be keeping all the diseases at the bay. Now in COVID-19 situation, everybody used to say that you need to build your immunity, so you have to take vitamin C. Yes, vitamin C is very important to build the immunity also. Otherwise, it gives us fever, weakness. If we get any wound, it cannot be healed very properly. So in this way, all this vitamin C deficiency takes place. Yes, water cannot be considered as one of the nutrient, but it is very important. Without water, our body cannot function properly. We may have dehydration if our body intake is too much and our output is very less. Then our body goes to a condition which is known as edema. And if we are taking too much of water and also our body is throwing up that water in the form of vomiting, in the form of diarrhea, then we can go into a condition which is known as dehydration. So water deficiency, dehydration is a very critical condition for a body, where the body can go into such a stage that a person can also die. So in body water balance, to maintain the water balance, we should always drink as much as water, and we should always take out that water in the form of urine from the body. Okay, now the next is menu planning and meal preparation. So what we do for menu planning, before you plan a menu, what you should always think that we should include all the different types of the food groups. Okay, so what are the different types of the food groups? As you know, there are carbohydrate, fat, protein, vitamins and minerals. So that means one serving of grain, one serving of protein, that means dal, one serving of vegetable, one serving of fruits, and also a one serving of a milk product should be there. Okay. Now, before planning a menu, you should always think that whatever you are planning, it should have a different color. Like if dal is yellow, you cannot make the sabzi also yellow. Make it a contrast. If dal is yellow, make the sabzi green, or make a green vegetable sabzi, or make something in red color. So before you plan a meal or prepare a meal, what are the things you should always take into consideration? They are color, texture, flavor, satiety value, sociological preference, personal preference, food cost, appearance, and time and energy. So all these things you need to consider before you plan a meal or if you prepare a meal. Then comes is balanced diet and nutrition during normal life cycle. So in balanced diet, what is a balanced diet? Balanced diet means all the food groups in a correct proportion. That means in an adequate amount to promote and preserve health. Okay, they are known as balanced diet. So if we consider our life cycle, what is the life cycle? That means there are basic 5 stages, and they are pregnancy, infancy, childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. So all this through life, all this basic 5 life cycles, that diet plays a very important role. The diet for a pregnant lady, the diet for an infant child, the diet for a childhood, a preschool child or a school going child, a diet for an adolescent boy or a girl, and an adulthood and an elderly plays a very important role in our entire life. So this is about the recommended dietary allowances of a diet during pregnancy. How much she should take? That means whatever the amount of the kilocalorie is been given, in that plus 300 she should always take if a lady is pregnant. If she is lactating, that means if she is breastfeeding her child, then additional 550 in the first 6 months, and if it is for 6 to 12 months, then additional 400 kilocalorie. That means whatever is the calorie, if it is 180, it is given over here 1875, and as per that a pregnant lady should take plus 300 kilocalorie, a lactating lady should take plus 550 kilocalorie, and a lactating mother of 6 to 12 months old, then she should take 400 kilocalorie. During infancy also, what are the things recommended daily nutritional requirement for 2 to 5 year old children? At this particular stage, infant, there is a new thing which has been introduced to them, and it is known as weaning. That means weaning is introduction of a new food, but the child should completely. That means while the child is drinking the breast milk at that particular time, not giving each and every time the breast milk. The introduction of a new food which has been done is known as weaning. So weaning is a very important process which should be followed by the mother at that particular time. So children between 2 to 3 years of age should take the calorie of 1060. Protein requirement for them is 16.7 gram, 27 gram of fat, 600 milligram of calcium, 9 milligram of iron. And if the child is of 4 to 6 years of age, then 1350 should be the calorie requirement for them. 20.1 is the protein, 25 gram is the fat, 600 milligram of the calcium, and 13 milligram iron should be taken. Diets during childhood. This is a phase where the child actually grow up. So during this particular time, the mother should take care of the child very properly, because if the child is not having the food, then he may go into a malnourishment stage. And if the child is taking too much of the junk food, then he can become obese also. So during the childhood, the mother should take care about his nutrition. She should take care about the eating habit of the child. She should always make something good and attractive for the child, so that the child can always have a inclination towards eating. Then recommended dietary allowances for adolescent. In adolescent also, where the boys and girls, they are in a growing stage, and in this particular time the child actually develop a likeness and dislikeness regarding the food. So he should or she should always be motivated or convinced to eat a proper and healthy and nutritious food. Diets during adulthood. Now, during adulthood, it is divided into three phases: 18 to 40, 40 to 60, and old adulthood is 60 to 80 years and above. Okay, so during this 40, during young adulthood, 18 to 40 years, the child should be promote to eat all the different types of the vegetables and eat a healthy eating. Middle adulthood, again, we should cut down the different types of the carbohydrate and fat content. And if it is old adulthood, then elderly, we need to take care, because in that particular time, the person would have developed some other diseases. So we have to very considerate about planning their menu for them, because in this particular time you need extra cautious for them, because in this old age you have to very careful about their nutrition. Also, they have lots of other problems. They have their tooth problem, they have their aging problem, they have their other psychological problems. So we should always take care, because during this age they suffer from osteoporosis, they suffer from different type of the monitoring treatment. We are suffering from any other neurological disorders, for example Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's disease. So all these diseases, they need to be scrutinized very carefully, and then you have to plan a diet for them. Next is the therapeutic diet and effective nutritional counseling. In this, the diet therapy and types of the therapeutic diet we have to consider. So what is basically diet therapy? It is the use of food in the treatment. This is accomplished by changing the patient's normal diet in order to meet the altered requirement resulting the disease and injury. That means whatever the patient is suffering from, you have to give a diet, and through that it has to be get cured. That's why it is known as diet therapy. Okay, therapeutic diets, they are basically prescribed by the doctors, and in hospital the doctor, the dietitian and the patient, they have to communicate it with each other, which is very important. And then the doctor would normally advise the dietitian to alter the diet in three respects. And these are the nutrient content of the diet, the consistency of the diet, and amount or quantity of the diet. That means what are the nutrients? For example, if a person is suffering, he is diabetic and he has a heart surgery, then at that particular point you have to consider the nutrient content, because during after heart surgery you cannot give him any carbohydrate rich food. Again, you cannot giving a fat rich food, because he is lying on a bed. If he is eating too much of fat, then he may gain weight, and then his mobility will be at risk. So that's why you have to take care at that particular time, that what are the different types of the nutrient options you are left, and how you are going to plan those nutrient options to give a good diet to the patient. Consistency of the diet means what? Consistency means what type of the food you have to give. For example, if it is a soft food, if it is a solid food, if it is a like a semi-solid food, or you have to go for a liquid diet. Okay, so these are all the different types of the consideration you should take before you give the diet to a patient. Here, the role of the dietitian plays a very important role. Okay, the dietitian has to take care of each and the diet therapy. The role of dietitian and healthcare team is very much. Okay. in physicians, there are residents. It should be a clinical registered dietitian who works in a hospital or a medical office or any other establishment also. Many dietitians, they are employed in hospital, public health, nutrition programs, long-term care facilities, and other management firms also. So what are basically the role of a dietitian? The role of a dietitian is to assess the nutritional status of patients in health and disease. So basically what she has to do, she has to access the status of the patient. Like if she or he is taking, if the patient is taking a semi-solid diet or a semi-liquid diet, then what is the status, whether he is okay or he is getting deteriorated or he is getting progress into it. To devise and coordinate all aspects of nutrition care plan, which should include long-term and short-term plans, New Year treatment modalities, and nutrition education plans also. Also, her main responsibility is to communicate with the doctor and monitor and she should share her knowledge with other members and the health team. Like every 24-hour recall basis, she has to take the relevant data from the patient. Okay. Now, and then she has to keep a record in the form of a form, in a form, and then all the oral intakes, like whatever the medicines the patient has taken, or when was the last food he has taken. So all these things, the dietitian should take care of, and she must monitor and document individuals parents patients diet plans, and he should always access, plan, implement, and evaluate, and also educate patients nutrition care program. Whenever it is needed, she has to keep in touch with the current scientific advancement in the field of medicine and nutrition also. That means she should have to continue education program is been on the part of her regular regime. Like she can also attend conferences, seminars, meetings related to nutrition and healthcare system, and also she should make herself very much up to date in her new role. Some of the functions, if you can if I wanted to tell you about some of the functions of a dietitian, that means the dietitian should plan and prescribe diet. It is not a duty of a doctor to plan and prescribe diet. It is only a dietitian can do. And she should prepare the patient mentally to accept that particular diet. Previously, when I used to visit many other hospitals, there was an apprehension between the patient and the dietitian, because the patient doesn't wanted to listen to dietitian and take the diet from them. Why? Because they used to think, why should I be instructed to what to eat, what not to eat? But I can always have food of my own. But nowadays the scenario is changed, and nowadays I can assure that many people have become health aware. So whenever they go to other places, they take the permission of a dietitian, they take the appointment of a dietitian, and then they say whether we can get a diet or not. Because nowadays people have started thinking that yes, to live properly healthy and happy life, we should be feed ourselves with a very nutrition diet, because happiness is a state of a mind which can only come when our body is happy. If we are suffering from something or the other, we cannot remain happy. So that's why, to keep our body happy, we need to feed our body the good food, and the healthy lifestyle should be maintained. So it is the duty of the dietitian to prepare the patient mentally to accept the modified diet. She should always plan a diet which the patient always wanted to eat. That means it should be very appealing and appetizing. Also, it should enlighten and motivate the patient that yes, after taking all these things, if that result is showing, then definitely I can be I can become more healthy, and I can become more mm, active. So all these things are different types of the roles and functions of a dietitian. Then how the nutritional counseling can be done. Now there are two ways the nutritional counseling is done. So behavioral and dietary changes, it can be helpful in preventing or treating a variety of prevalent mental or health problems. Yes, now dietitian can be helpful in motivating the patient. But to make a positive dietary changes, we should follow two things. One is a wave and another is a reap tool. Now, what is a wave and a reap tool? A wave means it is designed to encourage the patient dialogue about the pros and cons of the patient current status related to weight, activity, variety, and excess. That means if it is if a person is taking too much of, if a person is taking too much of medicine, then what can be the side effects of those medicine? What can be the side effects of those medicine for a very longer time in the body of a patient? So all these things have to be considered, and this is a tool through which you can always counsel. Nutritional counseling can be done, and dietitian usually do all these things. Even the REAP technology, what is the REAP? REAP means a rapid eating and a the rapid eating and activity assessment for patient is a brief validated questionnaire. That means in that brief validated questionnaire, you have to write everything about your diet and also about your activity. So through these two things, and with the help of a physician, the nutritionist or the dietitian can always counsel and answer the patient's questions regardingly about their nutritional requirement. So before counseling, we should know that how the patient is doing, or before counseling, we should always say that what is your requirement and what are you looking for, and then we can start with our nutritional counseling. So in this nutshell, I can say that we have came across a very few things, though it cannot be possible to cover in one single day, but then also we have seen the different types of the dietetic sector. Also we have seen the nutrition, also we have seen what are the importance of the food for our body, what are the role of the nutrients, how the menu planning and the meal preparation can be helpful, and the balanced diet and therapeutic diet, and what is the nutritional counseling. So friends, now after doing this particular course, you should be, after completion of the entire session, you should be able to answer these questions, and they are: what is the nutrition wheel? List out 5 food groups, giving 2 examples of foods in each food group. Why is it important to develop good eating habits in children? Why is it what is a balanced diet? What are the 5 important stages in a man's life cycle? What is the role of a registered dietitian in a hospital? So I hope after going through all these things, you will be able to answer all these 5 questions. Thank you so much.